Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing? We are live. I'm gonna get over here and get Instagram live going. Checking connection. Let's see how live we are. We're live! All right. Hello, everybody. How's my frame up? Am I looking fabulous? I hope so. Yeah, I'm pretty good. Let's see here. Get a little more centered. Now I'm centered. This feels better. All right, guys. David Turney, 5x5. How you doing, man? Corey Dahl, the violin maker. Hook it to the brain. Lauren Busby, what's up, cuz? How you guys doing? We are live today. I'm just kind of celebrating. I got a notification. You know how when those pop up, like, hey, this is a memory of so many years ago today. I had the video pop up from when I got laid off from ironworking, and that was the day that marked the beginning of this entrepreneur journey for me, really. I had a side hustle going for years before, been trying to figure this thing out, but that's when I finally built up some savings, had an actual plan to build a plasma table, and really went to work full time for myself. And instead of making somebody else money, I started making myself money and focused on that 100% of the time. And it has paid off huge in the last 3 years. I can't even describe how surprised I am with how fast this thing has gone together and where we are today. We have, the head count right now is 13 employees. We do anywhere from 20 to 50 signs a day in sales, and we ship at least 27 things out our door every single day in order to keep up with our 1 week lead time. This started with me in a garage, a Hobart 220 handler, one toolbox from Hobo Freight, and a pile of parts and steel to build a plasma table. Basically, I left my job and didn't even have the steel ordered, and didn't even really get onto Etsy until March of the next year. So let's see here, we got November, December, January, February, March. It took me 5 months from getting laid off to actually have marketable products with good pictures and good descriptions posted onto Etsy. And I decided to make 20 items to try and just fill up my shop and get some SEO going. And they were all garbage. None of them sold. I spent all this time, had a friend help me with a photo shoot, borrowed somebody's house that was way prettier than mine to do it. Thought I had all these great ideas, did all this research, and really ended up with no products that sold, and a plasma table that barely worked. So it didn't all go to plan. Actually, the first week I left, I went to go sell my hot rod to get the final bit of money. That was my savings basically to get this thing going. And the hot rod came off the trailer, ran into the back of my pickup truck and got dented. My rear axle blew up. At the same time, my transmission went out because it was working so hard to pull that hot rod up the hill. So I had my hot rod broken down. That was the seed money for this business. The truck broken down, and I was 30 miles away from the delivery spot to get this guy the hot rod sold. Luckily enough, he came out, met me on the highway. We did the old do-si-do. I sold actually that 7.3 diesel while I was in Whitville, Virginia, and found another truck while I was there. I still had a pay stub because I'd just been laid off 3 days before that. So I used that pay stub to get a loan on the truck that I have now, not knowing if I had a job or a paycheck or even if I could pay this sucker off. But I knew I had to have a truck to be in this business. So those are the kind of decisions that I had to make, and really only would have made if I had gone full time. And it really just pushed myself to do it all the way, because basically I just end up I was so scared to get started. You know what I mean? It's what if this doesn't work? What if that doesn't work? What if, what if, what if? And eventually the what if this doesn't work had to get weaker than what if I never try? You know what I mean? What if I just stayed at my job for the next 20 years? You know what I mean? What if I never went 100% full time and tried to build this table and build this business? What if I do have a really good idea? What if this could work? All those what ifs had to like be stronger than what if it fails? You know what I mean? So that's really what got me over the hump. Was I was more scared of staying in my job for the rest of my career and not knowing if this would have worked than I would be 5 years from now if, say, this whole thing blows up in my face and I had to go back to work. At least I would know, you know what I mean? And I didn't want to come out here and do this halfway. I wanted to do it all the way, 100%, and really try it, because that would be the other like sin that I would kick myself for personally, is like I would have failed and come back to work and be looking back at this experience and thinking about, man, if only I would have tried harder. I didn't want to have any of those doubts. So I committed to myself that I would give this 3 years, like nonstop, full on, 100% of my energy. And that's really what I did. Thank you, Dave, man. I really appreciate that. So I just kind of wanted to answer any questions. If you guys are thinking about leaving your main hustle and, you know, committing to the side hustle, or if you've just done it and you're wondering, I've just had 3 different people in the last week reach out to me basically for just like some small business tips and tricks. And I just figured I'd open it up here to you guys on Instagram and YouTube and maybe answer any of your questions, or just keep sharing a little bit more of my journey, I guess. Oh, Burger Boys Delivery, thank you so much. Lauren, yeah, I might write a book one of these days. I got all kinds of stuff I'd like to say and share. But really, I'm just like the first grader teaching kindergarten here. I never finished college, never finished my econ degree, but I just kept showing up and suiting up. And, I guess really just too stubborn to give up is the long and the short of it. But I just want to show you guys that, hey, get pumped. Get out there, make yourself a plan. The biggest thing you need to do is come up with a runway. Listen to This Week in Startups a lot, and a couple other podcasts that are focused on like tech startups, because that's what's growing the fastest in our economy. So that's what I want to study and apply, is all those tricks from the tech startup industry to the metal shop industry. You know, it's way different, but business principles are the same, and they don't really change by the industry that much. Most of the time, you're just trying to remove inconvenience for other people. That's the long and the short of it. Like, anybody could build a plasma table, but it's not very convenient to do so. So not very many people are going to do it. So if you kind of look at business opportunities like that, you're really just removing inconvenience from people. All of a sudden, you start seeing ways where you can make money out of what you're doing. So, but one thing I want to talk about is runway. So before I left my job, I didn't just get laid off and have no plan and just think, all right, now I'm going to do something. I've been planning on this for like a good year or two before I got laid off. I actually got laid off of other jobs and went back to work for other contractors just to keep the money rolling around. But before you guys leave, I want you guys to know this concept of runway. Basically, your runway is built of money and circumstances, right? So money gives you time. And you need to know how much money you're going to burn through every week or every month. You need to add up all your bills. Say you have $2,000 in bills a month and you have $2,000 in savings. That means you have 1 month of runway, right? Unless you get an order for a $2,000 something. Now maybe half of that is profit if it's amazing. And now you have 1.5 months of runway if you finish that job in the first month. You start seeing how it can become a puzzle as you get multiple jobs going and this money is moving up and down, and you get multiple things running consecutively, closing at different times in the month, and then bills coming out at different times of the month. But that's the basic principle, is you need to think about how much money you have and how long it's going to last. And then you need to make a plan appropriate to that kind of a schedule. If you realize you have a year of savings, you can really do some out there stuff and test and experiment a lot. You don't really have to hit, magic on your first round. But if you have, say, 2 months of run sales going, to stretch that out, because 3 months was not enough. So one thing I did is I collected unemployment while I was building the table. I had a nice big savings cushion. You guys heard the story about the hot rod that I sold to give myself a little bit more cash around. I had a rock crawler that I still have, and I never turned it into cash, but I kind of looked at it like a savings account. That rock crawler could have bought me one more month of operating expenses with no sales. So that is like kind of circumstantial. Like I didn't have the cash yet, but I had the circumstances. I had this rock crawler over here that I could turn into cash. Same thing with my house. We moved from California and came here to Tennessee, where it's a much cheaper place. We changed our circumstances. You know, my house payment went from like $1,400 in California to $850 a month here in Tennessee. Way lower property taxes, way cheaper, you know, I think health insurance is a little bit cheaper, all that kind of stuff. No income tax. We changed our circumstances. We went to a different place to build ourselves more runway because we knew that's what we needed to do, was lengthen this out so that we could have enough time to get up enough speed to get off the ground and running. And now we're like flying in the air. We're sweet little birds and cruising right along. But you don't know that in the beginning, so you need like a safety cushion. And even to this day, I still look at the cash in the bank as runway because I'm still experimenting. I'm still trying out new stuff. I'm still failing all the time. We tried to start a new business at the beginning of last year on top of this one, and it failed. It crashed and burned. But luckily, we had this thing still running, and we had some savings in the bank, so we still had runway left over so we could recover before we crashed into the ground and burned, right? So January, the next big bet is on Golden Machine Co. We always have this big surge of sales in Christmas, and instead of sitting on that money or taking it home and turning it into a boat, I'll leave it right here in the business and put it back to work trying to figure out something else that we can do with it. So this year, we made a big bet. I went off to China a couple weeks ago, and Dave, I'm getting around to your question about was it worth it? And we decided to buy basically our own branded equipment that we designed. So I went over there, and it was like the old school days of building a gateway computer. Remember, you could like click the drop down menu. I want this RAM. I want this processor. ... I basically got to do that. I got to walk through a plasma manufacturer that supplies the beds, the control stations, the wiring harnesses, and then they inventory all the other parts. And basically just got to pick, hey, I want that controller, I want that screen, I want these motors, this linear motion, that torch breakaway system. We added some cool stuff. We got some oilers put onto the plasmas. It's one of the big pain points for us is the bearings blowing out. So we engineered a little system so you could oil actually all of the grease points on the machine from one pump. And so I got to add a few things like that. I'm also going to be designing basically the covers that cover the motors and stuff because I want it to look like it's our stuff because it is, and it's different than everyone else's. So I just don't want the outside skin to look similar than to some others because basically I found out this company in China is making the parts for a lot of domestic manufacturers. So I'm just doing the same. Instead of having the whole manufacturing done here in the US though, I'm having it outsourced. Right now, this first set of equipment is coming from China, but the next set is actually going to be done in the Philippines. So that is really the next step is in January. I need to go to the Philippines. But in China, I spec'd out all the equipment. I gave them money. We signed some agreements, and now I just have to wait. So they have all my money, and I have no tools yet. I'm just waiting on the container to get loaded and sent over my way. So I'm going to have a 5x10 plasma, a 4x4 plasma, a 5x10 3 kilowatt fiber laser cutter with sheet loader, and then a 30-watt fiber marker with a indexer for tube or like barrels or Yeti cups or whatever. And they're all going to be branded for Golden Machine Co. And they are our configuration of basically what I think is going to work the best and what I want to service and support long term. Because I don't want to sell garbage and be on the phone and sending you guys parts all the time. Is the long and the short of it. But there's really, I don't know. I'm in limbo, guys. But that's why I posted the video. I just want to be super honest with you guys. That's why I just shared before I went to China. So if it blows up in my face, you guys are going to know it blew up in my face. And you guys are going to know, don't go to China, or at least don't deal with this guy in China. Because really I want other shops to grow, and I want to learn about this stuff with you guys, and I want you guys to figure out how to grow your own shops and in your own places, and even really online is the big story for us. I stopped doing shows and just focused all my energy in online marketing, and that's really been the story of our growth. So I don't want to get too long-winded on here. Really appreciate you guys joining me this Saturday. I hope you are cruising on your own thing and making cool stuff. And this will be the last round of questions. If anybody has anything here on the gram. Oh, David, are your operations in a rural area? Yeah, definitely. Geography was done on purpose here. So um, Nashville is right here, south of us, and Bowling Green is just north of us. And we are a half hour from downtown Nashville and 1 hour from Bowling Green, which are two major metros, right? So I knew that I wanted to have rural cost of living, rural cost of business, rural kind of life and upbringing for my kids. We live on a dead end road in the country, um, and that's what I wanted. And honestly, being 30 miles away from Nashville means we get a lot of work from Nashville. We got a project right now going for Firestone because their corporate offices are in downtown Nashville. So we're basically making Nashville money with Springfield, Tennessee expenses, right? So that's what I'm always trying to do is I'm trying to reach down into that Nashville area and pull that money out. Same thing up with Bowling Green. There's Corvette up there. There's Fruit of the Loom up there. There's a lot of big manufacturers, Logan Aluminum. Clarksville also has a big military base, a lot of population, a lot of business and money going through there. So we're located strategically right in between all three of those metros. And that helps us pick up a lot of like bread and butter, local fab business, really. The website, honestly, guys, I wish my website worked as good as like eBay, Etsy, Amazon, Craigslist, Facebook, but it doesn't. I have a bunch of traffic from mostly from you guys on YouTube, but you guys aren't buying signs. You guys are there to build your own business, maybe looking at the metal fab tables or whatever, like tools for your own shop. But most of my traffic is not signed customers to my own website. Most of it is you guys just trying to learn more, I think, or get some of the table files or whatever. The real story for us is like Etsy, eBay, Amazon. We just put our stuff out everywhere we can. We have the same listing on the website, the same listing on eBay, the same product on Amazon, the same product in Etsy. And we do our own little SEO stuff in each one of those because they all treat you differently in search. I'm spending a bunch of time and a bunch of money on my own website. I tried Google advertising actually last month. We spent over $2,000 and have 0 sales. So that's me trying to learn the internet myself, wasting a lot of time and resources. Franklin, no, we're up in Springfield, Tennessee, just north of town. Franklin's a little south of town, Dave. Design software. I'm a big believer in open source, guys. So Inkscape is where I started. If you guys want to design for a Plasma, anything in 2D, you want to graphic design some labels, you want to design a logo, Inkscape. It processes a bunch of files. It can convert stuff to bitmap, which is what you need to make like a vectorized image with nodes instead of pixels. And it's free. Did I mention that? Open source, free. Free is sweet. I'm all about free. Let's see here. Then video editing software. We run, I use Adobe Rush is what it's called on my phone. And a lot of the stuff you guys see on Instagram is actually just shot and edited right on my phone. It takes too much time to take it off, put it on the laptop and bring it back. And then 3D software, I'm currently using Fusion 360 because they have gorgeous renders and they help me sell freaking jobs because you can make stuff look like it's actually gonna look. Not quite in real life. It's a little cartoony, Pixar-ish, but like, whoa, I used to draw stuff up with pencil on graph paper with rulers and try to sell people my idea. Yeah, it's gonna look like this. I don't mean to talk shit about that. I'm sorry if you're doing that, but like, it was really hard to sell jobs with pencil and paper. And it's way easier now that I'm drawing stuff up in Fusion 360. So it's not the fastest, it's not the most efficient, it doesn't have the best workflow from CAD to CAM to wah wah wah. but it helps me sell, and then I'm willing to do all the work in the back on the weekends and evenings like this to catch up and make sure that those renders can turn into actual dimension drawings that go to the shop. And that's honestly where we're having the biggest trouble, is we can design stuff really quickly and efficiently to make it look right, to sell it, and then we sell it and we have to turn it into plans that are ready to go to the shop, and they're not right. You know, and that's been really humbling and challenging for me. So that's honestly what I'm doing today, is I'm trying to turn this outdoor shower render into perfectly dimensioned prints that my shop can use without asking me too many questions. Do you design and sell that design, or do customers order more of their designs? Okay, here's kind of a little caveat to the design build thing, right? So the old school way is you design something, you copyright it, and then you just hammer down on it, you own it, repeat it, bam, 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 bam. That just takes a lot of time and money. So basically, here's how I look at it, is we do custom jobs. I charge extra for custom, right? Because it's extra time and money. But at the end of the job, we have this new design. Half the time, it's like commercial. It's ready to go somewhere else. The other half the time, it's so personal, or it's for like a dead loved one that I just feel too greasy. I'm not going to repeat that and resell it. But if it's like a commercial design, you know, like this Garage Mahal, actually this Compass Rose right here, perfect example. Somebody was like, hey, I want this Compass Rose, can you make me one? I was terrible at making curved text. It took me like 3 days. Finally, I finished it. He's like, that's great, but I wanted it in negative space instead of positive. It took me like another 2 days. Let's see here. Yeah, and finally got it done, sold it to him. I spent 5 days making that stupid compass. I feel like I own the idea at that point, you know what I'm saying? So that thing I took pictures of and relisted it. So now my new rule is anything that I make, I take pictures of it. I have permanent photo booths here, 2. One is high contrast. It's a light colored wood background, because high contrast is one of the most popular pictures. The other most popular picture type is monochromatic. So the front of my building, I have a black wall. Most of my stuff's black. Black on black, monochromatic, black on white, high contrast. So everything we make that is commercial design, we take pictures of it first, and it gets added to our website. Because I already paid to make it. I already paid to design it. I already bought the steel. I already ground that sucker down. Why not take pictures and put it on your website? You guys did the work, right? So same thing with my designs for furniture and stuff. I've done a couple things with some local designers, or architects, or I guess developers developing stuff, or even bands that come through town. But all of that stuff is clearly somebody else's design. You know what I mean? They came to me with a fully fleshed out concept, probably like even drew some stuff down, or like sent me a render that somebody else did. That stuff, I don't recreate, I don't touch it. It's just that customers. I don't even really talk about it that much, or if I do, I totally give credit where it's due. The other stuff, however, is like, let me see here. Here, I'll show you guys this table. You guys see this table right down here? Yeah? So that tabletop, I made some legs for a customer that were super simple, super straightforward, and I was like, you know what? Those legs are so clean and so easy and so efficient that I know we can make them again. So we took pictures of it, added it to the website, shipped it to the customer, and now we sell those table legs probably like, I don't know, 2 or 3 a week. You know, they're not huge, but they're regular movers. So that's been my system and part of our success. I don't build anything without taking pictures of it, thinking that I'm gonna add it to the website, you know? Price of your products, you mind talking about your formula? Let's see here. Okay, pricing formula. Oh gosh, this is a deep one. There is a couple different models, but the first model, there's a few different models. The easiest way to do it, guys, is you take all of your hard costs, right? What does your steel cost? What does your electricity cost? What does, you gotta rent the table to yourself because it's depreciating, it's breaking down. You're gonna have to replace it one day. You need to pay yourself for your labor. You know what I mean? If you're $15 an hour, really, you don't necessarily need to, like, I want to make $100 an hour, right, guys? I mean, don't we all? But you're not going to charge $100 an hour for grinding. And you're not going to have to pay somebody $100 an hour to get them to grind for you. So really, you want to price stuff out at replacement cost. My goal is to pay everybody here $15 an hour starting. So minimum, I always build in $15 an hour for stuff like grinding, processing, sanding, running the table, those kind of activities that are traditionally like kind of entry level. So anyways, you can add up all your hard costs and multiply that by 2.5 times. 2.5x over cost is the simplest way to figure out your pricing. You can get started there and then kind of start fine tuning from there. The next complicated version of pricing is called ABC model, activity-based costing model. And that's kind of the same thing where you add up all of your costs, your hard costs, like your material and labor, and then your soft costs or your fixed costs, which are seen as G&A on a balance sheet, general and administrative. You actually take your total for the month. So say like it costs you $2,000 in rent and power and water and electricity and insurance, all those fixed costs that pretty much stay the same every month. If that costs you $2,000, then and you sell, let's say 200 things, right? That's going to be 200 times 10. Is that 100? No, 200 times 10 is 2,000. I'm getting lost here. I'm terrible at math, guys. I have to do it on paper. And this probably isn't being very helpful to you either because we don't have paper. So basically, you have to divide your fixed costs by the number of things you sell in a month. So if you have $100 in costs and you sell 100 things, you need to assign $1 of expense to each product that you make that month in order to cover your general and administrative costs. Then you cover your hard costs like labor and material, and then you add on stuff like margin and how much profit you want to make. And if there's financing, if you're offering terms to your customer and loaning them money basically through your shop, and they're going to pay you in like 90 days, I'm going to add like another 5% if you're going to make me wait 90 days because I'm playing bank. So that's the ABC model. Then there is a third model that I call Larry Keeler because that's the guy that taught it to me. He's an old head from Foster Farms on the West Coast. He was their CFO for many years, and he taught me a third way of pricing where basically you assume that your G&A is met, that you're already busy and you're trying to pick up incremental volume. So you're trying to pick up a little extra business for cheap because you've already made your $100 to cover your bills that month, and you have 3 days left in the month. So you know that you don't have to cover that $1 for the rest of the products you make in those last 3 days. So you actually don't make your customer pay that $1. And what it does is it increases your volume that month and lets you take home a little bit more. You sacrifice margin, increase volume, and you increase your profit a little tiny bit. But that's like a really advanced way of pricing, and you really need to have a good understanding of those other two before you start trying to assume that your G&A is met this month and you start going into these more like complex scenarios. But basically, the long and the short of it is pricing. Pick a system, pick some rules, and if it's a percentage over cost or 2.5 times over cost or 2.75 times over cost, just pick some rules and run with them for a month or two, and then stop, collect some data, and see how profitable you are, and then adjust those rules a little bit. That's basic pricing strategy. Is you got to make a bet, you got to throw a price out there, and make your customers vote with their wallet, right? I don't care how many likes I get. I don't care how many shares I get. I don't care how many comments I get. I care how many things I sell every day, right? That's what's going to keep my lights on. That's what's going to pay everybody that works here. That's what's going to buy me new tools, which is my favorite thing to do. So hopefully that helps. I have some spreadsheets. I have a spreadsheet for the runway that I'd really like to share. If anybody's interested in that, just post up in the comments or shoot me a DM, and I'll share that with you. And then it sounds like I need to simplify some of my costing models so I can share those as well, because it looks like there's some interest there, and that would be really, really helpful. That's like real stuff, guys. Like this is all like kind of get pumped, get motivated, you can do it, but the spreadsheets, that's where like you're actually going to get better at life and business, is when you get down and actually do the work. So, all right, guys. Hey, it's been a half hour. Really appreciate you joining me today. Hope you're having a good one. Happy making. Keep going. Don't give up. Just be indefatigable, I think is the word. Have some grit, some chutzpah, some gumption, and some hustle muscle. And I think you guys can have the same success. Really focus on the internet, okay? The real world brick and mortar is dying. The local B2B sale is changing. Do as much as you can online. I'm dead serious. That's what's changed our life. Fab is growing, but it's not that profitable. Honestly, signs are paying for fabrication to survive here at this current time because we're not that good at it. You know, I'm good as a one guy builder, but now I have to actually not build anything and explain my ideas to a group of other builders. And that is a huge gap for me, and we're not doing it that well yet. So really, our success is all on the internet and the internet sale, whether it be through our own website or any of these other channels that are available. Get on them, start learning them, figure out shipping. That's another huge part of the online sale. If you guys don't have a dedicated shipping space, you're not going to be competing here, guys. This is our shipping. It stays set up all the time, fully inventoried with everything you need, scale, printer, the whole 9 yards. Because if you're going to scale, you've got to get your stuff to people's doorsteps. They're shopping in their jammies, and they want to receive it in their jammies, right? Okay, for real this time. I'm taking off. You guys have a good Saturday. Thanks again for hanging out with me. Let's see how to, end video. Yay! All right, and this one. I've never done a YouTube live before. How do we stop? Stop. Okay.